Hey, what's up, Internet, specifically Alaska? My name is Will. I have a YouTube channel and I don't know, Facebook, all that stuff. And I've been really thinking a lot about this super controversial topic that's been all over the TV, all over the Internet recently, and it is the SB21 versus ACES argument that goes on, and nobody really knows which side has the facts that back up their argument or whatever. And I don't know, I've been focusing on this, or I've been doing research and hearing about it for the last 6 months or so, and it gets really frustrating because I'm a vote yes person. This is probably in the title of the video, but I don't really think that I can handle just being here thinking these things to myself. And every time I try to talk to somebody about it, they don't even have an idea of what the details are of either side. I don't know why people think the way they do. And I guess I'm making this video more for myself than for anybody else, but I do want to be able to show people, maybe at least let them into the light a little bit about the whole situation and what's going on and all that stuff. So yeah, because basically I get really frustrated just when I see those commercials, the vote no commercials, or every time I drive by one of those vote no signs, I just am like, oh f you. And so yeah, this is just me. I just want to show you what I think, what I've come across, what I've read, all that stuff, and hopefully maybe people will reconsider or just be a little more in the light about this whole thing that's going on, being voted on the 19th. So yeah, hope you enjoy the video. The More Alaska Production Act, also known as SB 21, was signed into law in May of 2013. As indicated by its name, it promised higher oil yields on the North Slope as well as more jobs for Alaskans up there. ACES, or Alaska's Fair and Equitable Share Act, was the previous tax structure which SB 21 seeks to revise. Signed into law in 2007, ACES was a dynamic tax structure that tried to ensure the well-being of the North Slope, Alaska's citizens, and keep the North Slope competitive between the big companies that were harvesting our natural resources. The oil and gas industry is extremely important in Alaska for our infrastructure, for our economic well-being, and all that stuff. If they disappeared tomorrow, it would be utter chaos. But does that mean we need to take advice as to how it should be properly taxed from the oil companies, from BP, from ConocoPhillips? Let's look into why they want us to structure it this way and figure out if it holds any water.
Alaskans will decide an issue this year that affects our economic future. Consider the facts. Fact: 1/3 of all Alaska jobs are attributed to the oil and gas industry.
Okay, so I see what they're getting at here because, like I said, the oil and gas industry is very important for Alaska's infrastructure and all that stuff. But, okay, so say you have a farmer and 1/3 of his livestock is cows, but he also raises pigs and chickens. So he takes all of his money that he has to invest on his farm and he just spends it all on the cows. I mean, don't get me wrong, these cows are an integral part of his farm, but for his farm to be truly successful, he wants to keep all of his livestock alive. And so, yeah, he's like, gotta make sure that those cows stay really healthy. I'm gonna build them a bigger barn, I'm gonna get them better food, all that stuff. But then the next year he realizes that half of his chickens have died and his pigs are all malnourished, and he's like, what happened? Now my cows are all I got left. And if Alaska was 100% oil and gas jobs, it wouldn't be able to sustain itself. There would have to be a lot less people living here. It couldn't be a developed state with cities in it that have their own things going on and different jobs.
Fact: under our old tax system, Alaska oil production fell from 2nd in the nation to 4th, behind California.
Okay, so this is a graph of how many thousand barrels per day we're pumping through the pipeline over the years on average. So if you look at the average for 1988, that's our peak, right? We're about at 2 million barrels per day. And if you notice, there's a trend where it declines, and I'll show you where ACES comes into play. We were already dropping, we were at less than half the production at that point already. It's not just ACES came along and and just completely turned things around. Like, we were going up and up and up, and then ACES happened, and then it just spun out of control. Like, this is just a ridiculous myth.
Fact: Alaska oil production has been declining. The old tax system did nothing to stop it. Learn more at foralaskasfuture.com.
Yeah, it's just super sad. Like, ACES couldn't do anything to stop the decline of oil production, and really feels like there's no hope left. I mean, unless maybe if there was a bill called SB 21 and it just came along and it fixed all those problems, and then now there's oil all up in the pipeline and everything's just great, right? SB 21, you did it. Glad you were signed into office or signed into law, and now you're doing work for Alaskans. What's that you say? Profits are up, but production is down. Well, I thought we wanted production to go up. Isn't that the whole point of this bill? But if you had lower production, how can you possibly have made more money? This doesn't make any logical sense.
Okay, no, this is the problem. The problem is that some people would look at those numbers and think that doesn't really make sense. Why would this happen? But some people in their redneck crazy world are like, well, ConocoPhillips and BP have been in Alaska so long they just learned how to do some damn good business, I tell you what. But they haven't come up with a new superior way to produce and market oil. The only thing that happened was a bunch of lobbyists went in and got the tax structure changed to benefit the oil companies and equally detriment Alaskans. And if you just look at these numbers that I'm about to pull up, it makes sense why they made money on lower production quarter. So don't get me wrong, like, before we go on, I just want to make it clear that I do think that these oil companies stand to make a profit up here, and I do think they deserve to make a profit. They're investing in Alaska. They should make the profit, and they're trying to make it sound like they couldn't do that before. And this new tax structure is going to hurt Alaska way more than it should in order to benefit them, even though they weren't struggling in the first place. Okay, under ACES, BP and ConocoPhillips both made $12 million in the last 6 years. That's $2 billion in profit under ACES. That's insane. And you compare that with the rest of the lower 48, Alaska is such a huge competitor with all of the rest of the lower 48 states. When they say stuff like, we're sending our jobs to North Dakota, or California's making way more oil, they leave factors out, such as the reason jobs are leaving Alaska going to North Dakota is because there's been an improvement in technology in shale oil drilling and fracking. Alright? And California thing, okay, so there may be more oil there now. There hasn't been for a long time, but they're not making as much of a profit per barrel at all. Okay? There's no reason for them to leave based on the profits that they stand to make up here. And if they don't stand to make a profit, if they stand to lose money being up here, then they should leave. But they're not going to.
We need to vote no on one and give oil tax reform a chance.
Okay, is ACES a perfect document? No. Do I think it was super beneficial for Alaska when it was instated, and since then has it been beneficial? Yes, extremely beneficial. Is it infallible? Can it be changed for the better? Of course. Thomas Jefferson said that the Constitution of the United States should be rewritten every 20 years. Alright? No document or tax structure can withstand the test of time forever. You know, times change. We're going to need to revise ACES as we see fit. But the problem with SB 21 is it revises it in such a way that it violates Alaska's Constitution. Article 8, Section 2 of Alaska's state constitution says that the natural resources that we have in our state should be used for the maximum benefit of its people, not the maximum benefit of ConocoPhillips.
So this is a table that basically shows what the Alaska Department of Revenue thinks the changes will be if we use SB 21 as our tax structure as opposed to ACES. So there's a few important numbers that I'm just going to point out. If you want to look at the table for yourself, there should be a link in the description of this video. The production goes down 5.6%, which that kind of seems a little contradictory to their whole Alaska needs more production. The solution to this problem is more production. their whole argument there. We'll get into that in a sec. The progressive tax is completely removed. That's $1 billion that Alaska does not get in its budget just on its own, which is insane. And also the effective tax rate overall, like you can look at all the numbers, add them up, whatever. The effective tax rate after credits under ACEs would have been about 28.5%, and it drops to 11.9%, and that equates to about $2.1 billion, like we said, the $2 billion giveaway that Alaska stands to lose under SB 21 per year.
Alright, so if these projections are even close to accurate, then Alaskans will be banking on one thing, and that is more production. And oh my god, that's exactly what we were promised. But should we be banking on this? I don't think so. Nowhere in SB 21 is more production required. Sean Parnell himself couldn't even say that more production will happen under SB 21, because if he said that, then the SEC would come and own his ass. They would just hit him with legal fines and legal punishment, because he can't just flagrantly lie to his constituents like that.
Without an absurd amount of higher production under SB 21, Alaska stands to drop far into debt, threaten our PFDs, and lose its AAA state credit rating. These kind of threats to Alaska's economic stability are not something I'm comfortable with being toyed around with, and I don't think you should be either. Although I think more production could be a good thing, especially to the point of stabilization, I really think that it's important to remember that oil is a finite resource. We're not going to have it forever. And just like with overfishing, if you overdo it, it could be a really short-sighted decision for your state's financial stability in the future. And though I think more production could be a really good thing, I could never get behind SB 21, because the only people that it truly helps is the oil company CEOs. It detriments Alaskans unnecessarily when oil companies were already making tons and tons of profit in Alaska every year. In closing, I kind of see the way Alaska approached changing ACEs to the way a track star approaches the 100-meter hurdles. And they looked at they were running the track and they saw the first hurdle and they were like, okay, I gotta jump over this hurdle. This is my first obstacle. And what they did is they just completely overjumped it, like overshot it so hard that they smashed into the following hurdle, wiped out, and lost the race because of that. The track Alaskans are on is the economic well-being of our state far into the future, not just the first hurdle. We need to make sure that we're not completely overshooting and messing up the entire race for ourselves.
So, yeah, alright, I basically think SB 21 is a complete pile of crap that BP, Conoco, Exxon have drawn up in order to basically make it so that they can make as much money off of Alaska as they can. And what makes me think that is that these places these companies are based out of London, England, Houston, Texas, and I don't know where the fuck Exxon's from, but like they literally could milk these oil fields for years upon years and just make tons and tons of money. There's no reason for them to put their money back into Alaska. There's no reason for them to produce more oil. The bill isn't structured that way, and if we do want to change ACEs, we should change it way more way more efficiently or way more beneficially to Alaska than we did with this last thing. And with the amount of vote no signs and vote no stickers I see on a daily basis, it really sickens me to think that this is what's going to happen. And Alaska's just going to have to find out firsthand that they made a huge mistake. And the reason that it happened is just because of a bunch of propaganda that they just bought like a bunch of idiots. Instead of doing some research, like actually giving a shit about their state, yeah, that's basically what I think. I want to give a special thanks to the Bob and Mark Show on 106.5 K-Whale. Special thanks to Diane Witt, did a lot of research that I used to help me make this video. And special thanks to Jo Marie Thompson, who is a part of the Vote Yes movement that made me really feel like this was a video worth me making. Even if barely anybody sees it and nobody even fucking cares about it. Okay. Alright, thanks for watching everybody. Have a good day.